welcome to this explainer. Let's just jump right in, shall we? If you are looking for that ultimate high-energy exam prep guide for Unit 3, Atomic Structure, you're exactly where you need to be. We're going to take all those dense concepts from your chemistry textbook and distill them down into a totally clear, structured playbook. Our goal? To help you completely ace your upcoming test. All right, let's get into it. Here is the game plan for today. First, we'll hit the core particles, then decode atomic numbers, master those essential diagrams, explore the world of isotopes, calculate relative mass, and finally, tackle some real exam practice questions. Starting right at the top with Section 1, Core Subatomic Particles. Okay, let's simplify your atomic building blocks. You absolutely must memorize the relative charges and masses of protons, neutrons, and electrons. It is a classic exam memory aid and honestly a guaranteed point scorer. If you need a quick mnemonic device for the test, just remember the word pen. Protons are positive, electrons are strictly negative, and neutrons are completely neutral. As for their mass, well, just remember that the protons and neutrons are the heavyweights. They sit at 1 atomic mass unit each. Electrons, on the other hand, are incredibly light. I mean, they are so light, their mass is practically negligible. Now, let's look at how this plays out physically in a uniform electric field. Notice how those extremely light, negatively charged electrons curve really sharply toward the positive plate. Opposites attract, so they get pulled in super easily. Meanwhile, the heavier, positive protons curve, but it's a much gentler curve down to the negative plate. And our neutral neutrons? Because they don't have a charge at all, they just shoot straight ahead, completely unaffected. Understanding this behavior will absolutely save you on exam day. Moving right along to Section 2, Decoding Atomic Numbers. So the absolute most crucial thing here is the proton number, which we represent with the letter Z. Think of the proton number as your atom's unchangeable VIP ID card. It tells you exactly how many protons are in the nucleus. Listen, if an atom has 6 protons, it is carbon. No exceptions, no debates. Actually, let me put it this way. If you change the number of protons, you literally change the entire element. Building on that idea, we have the nucleon number, or A. The nucleon number is just the total count of the heavy particles sitting right there in the center of the nucleus. Remember how we said electrons basically weigh nothing? Right. So simply adding the number of protons and the number of neutrons together gives you the overall mass number of the entire atom. Simple as that. All right, Section 3, Mastering Essential Diagrams. Now, examiners absolutely love diagrams, so treat this checklist as your primary drawing homework. You need to be able to comfortably sketch and label these 3 specific ones entirely from memory. We just covered the electric field path a minute ago, so let's tackle the other 2 on this list. First up, Rutherford's gold foil experiment, a massive moment in atomic history. When you're drawing or interpreting this one, the key is to show that the vast majority of those positively charged alpha particles pass straight through the foil. This proves the atom is mostly empty space. But, and here's the kicker, you must also draw a few of those particles deflecting at really sharp angles. That specific detail is what proves there's a super dense, positively charged nucleus hiding right in the center. You also have to master drawing Bohr models, especially for the first 10 elements. You want to show protons and neutrons packed into that dense center with the electrons flying around in distinct shells. Look at these examples here for hydrogen, helium, and carbon. Just remember your shell rules. That first inner shell holds a maximum of 2 electrons, and the second shell holds up to 8. Practice sketching these out, guys. They are highly testable. Let's jump into Section 4, the world of isotopes. Isotopes often trip students up, but let's think about them using an everyday analogy. Imagine you're buying a car. An isotope is basically the exact same base model car with the exact same chemical properties. It drives the same, it reacts the same, but some versions just have a heavier, upgraded package installed. In chemistry, those heavy upgrades are literally just extra neutrons packed into the nucleus. Take hydrogen, for example. Hydrogen-1, also known as protium, has 1 proton and 0 neutrons. But add 1 neutron upgrade and you double its mass to get deuterium. Add yet another neutron and you get tritium. Tritium is actually so heavy and unstable that it becomes radioactive. The base chemical is exactly the same, but the mass is completely different. And listen, isotopes aren't just some abstract theory you have to memorize. They are real-world tools used every single day. We use iodine-131 to diagnose thyroid issues. Sodium-24 is used to trace your blood flow. Cobalt-60 is literally used in medicine to irradiate cancer cells. And carbon-14, we use it to trace carbon paths in photosynthesis. This is seriously powerful, real-world chemistry in action. Moving on to Section 5, Calculating Relative Mass. All right, let's shift gears and crunch some numbers. When you get a relative atomic mass question on the exam, just break it down chronologically. Step 1, isolate your known variables. Step 2, find your missing percentage. And remember, they always have to add up to 100. Step 3, neatly set up your weighted average formula. And finally, Step 4, just solve the algebra. Keep your scratch paper clean and structured, and you'll nail this. Here's how it builds mathematically with carbon. You just multiply each specific isotope's mass by its percentage abundance, add those together, and divide by 100. That gives you the final, perfectly weighted average answer. If you follow this exact template, you won't get lost in the numbers. Finally, Section 6, exam practice questions. Let's see what you've got. I'd highly recommend pausing this explainer right now to see if you can answer these multiple choice questions yourself. Testing your octave recall is without a doubt the absolute best way to study. Pay really close attention to the tricky ones, especially the questions asking about subshells, the s, p, d, and f orbitals. Let's actually test one together right now. Think back to our real-world applications slide from just a few minutes ago. Do you instantly remember which of these specific isotopes is the one that targets cancer? Well, if you locked in on option C, cobalt-60, you are absolutely correct. Great job paying attention. And finally, check out question number 7 in the short answer section. It is literally asking you to directly draw Bohr's model for specific elements like potassium, silicon, and argon. See? This proves exactly why we put those diagrams on your essential checklist. You will be asked to draw them on the exam, so make sure those sketching skills are sharp. So let's wrap this whole thing up. If you can master those core particles, remember your Penn mnemonic, decode the proton and nucleon numbers, and confidently draw the atomic models from your checklist, you are going to absolutely crush this exam. No doubt about it. I'm going to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought for your next study session. If adding extra neutrons to an isotope doesn't actually change its chemistry, just how heavy can an atom get before the strong nuclear force completely fails and the nucleus breaks apart entirely? Think about the literal physical limits of atomic structure. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep reviewing these slides, study smart, and I'll catch you next time.